The Brotherhood of Steel has been a force to be reckoned with throughout the entirety of the Fallout saga. In one fashion or another, they have a major role to play in the main questline of every Fallout game. However, in Fallout 4, there isn't a whole lot of Brotherhood of Steel presence in the Commonwealth prior to the arrival of the Prydwen. One of the more notable and tragic operations the Brotherhood has undertaken in the Commonwealth prior to Maxon's arrival is the tale of Recon Squad Artemis. But what really happened to this scrappy team led by the loyal and resourceful Paladin Brandis? We'll pull up a chair that's not too splintery and grab a bowl of sugar bombs because I'm Gray, you're watching Gray Gaming, and today we are going to investigate the tragic tale of Recon Squad Artemis. Our journey begins as we approach the Cambridge ruins, where we pick up a distress signal sent by Scribe Halen of the Brotherhood of Steel. When we investigate the signal, we can hear gunfire as we approach the remains of the Cambridge Police Department building. We arrive just in time to see the position being overrun with feral ghouls. Once the ghouls are dealt with, we can speak to Paladin Danse, the leader of Recon Team Gladius. Danse is grateful for the assistance, though perplexed as to why we would be willing to help, given the Brotherhood's apparent reputation in the Commonwealth. He requests your assistance in exploring a pre-war aerospace research facility called ArcJet Systems that may have the necessary long-range comms equipment he needs to re-establish contact with their headquarters in the capital wasteland. On the way to ArcJet, Danse reveals that his 8-member team was sent to investigate strange energy readings detected in the Commonwealth, which could only come from a group with a high level of technological capabilities, a cause of great concern for the Brotherhood of Steel. He goes on to explain that Gladius is the 3rd squad to be dispatched to the Commonwealth in the past 7 years. The first team was very successful, bringing back crates of pre-war technology, technical documents, and intelligence about the region, but the second team very quickly lost contact and was never heard from again. The second team, Recon Squad Artemis, also has quite a storied history in its short time in the Commonwealth. Also consisting of 8 members under the command of Paladin Brandis, Artemis was dropped into the hills outside Malden, and very shortly thereafter they were attacked by a very large group of raiders. After losing 5 members of his team and with their fusion cores running low, Brandis ordered their power armor scuttled to prevent it from falling into enemy hands. After the engagement, the survivors retreated to the nearby National Guard Training and Recruitment Depot. Brandis and their field scribe Ferris went to investigate the Revere satellite array, presumably in an attempt to re-establish comms with the Brotherhood and request extraction, leaving Knight Tara Astlin to retain control of the depot. However, upon securing the array, Brandis left Ferris to retrieve Astlin, only to find the depot had been infested by feral ghouls, and Brandis was also forced to abandon plans to link back up with Ferris when the array soon fell into super mutant hands. Brandis retreated to a small bunker in the north of the Commonwealth in hopes that Ferris and Astlin made it out alive. However, they never arrived, leaving Brandis alone in the bunker for 4 years, where we can still find him in 2287, broken, saddened from the loss of his team, and more than a little addled from years of isolation and grief. Recon Squads Gladius and Artemis are both fairly well known to most Soul survivors in the Commonwealth, but why, when Artemis was such an utter failure, would Recon Team Gladius have been dispatched with the same mission and even fewer resources made available to them? Well, the answer could possibly lie with the team that is almost never discussed that was sent 3 years prior to Artemis. There are no mission reports that we can read, no members of this team we can interact with and discuss, and really no indication of where they went and what they found. Or is there? Clues may be found in the actions taken by Paladin Brandis during his ill-fated operation. After their crushing defeat on the first day of their mission, Artemis would have been running low on ammunition, vulnerable due to the loss of their power armor, and reeling from the loss of 2/3 of their team. Their first priority would have been to find a defensible position and resupply. Relatively close to their position was a US military listening post, LP Bravo, which was a small underground bunker. This would have checked all the boxes in order for Brandis to order his team there, as it is small, would have been easily defended, and contained radio equipment possibly strong enough to reach the Brotherhood of Steel. So why then did they instead choose to go south to a training and recruitment office? Ordinarily, recruiting offices will have no weapons, as their mission isn't to fight wars, but to recruit the members necessary to fight wars for you. Basic training commands are also not likely to contain overly impressive arsenals, as they are designed to provide training that will apply to all members of that specific branch, whether they work behind a desk, in mobile comms, or frontline infantry roles. It seems absolutely absurd that the demoralized, tired, and short-supplied Brotherhood of Steel troops would have opted for what on paper would be a far less defensible position that's not likely to contain the supplies or comms equipment that they would need. If they were going strictly off of pre-war military records, the decision should have been a no-brainer to head to Listening Post Bravo instead. However, what if there were relatively recent Brotherhood of Steel records reflecting a very different state of affairs at the depot? You see, the depot does not seem to serve any singular purpose as a training depot, supply depot, or recruiting station, but actually seems to serve as all three, which is very odd for military installations. In addition to a recruiting office, the facility consists of several smaller bunkers, a vertibird pad, a large collection of shipping containers, a sentry bot, several automated defense turrets, and most importantly for a small team of Brotherhood of Steel members who had just scuttled their power armor, 2 fully functional power armor chassis with various armor pieces mounted. This was actually the perfect location for them to resupply given their situation and completely changes the context by which we view the Artemis mission. If the mysterious first Brotherhood of Steel mission to the Commonwealth had mentioned that the training depot was defensible, rich in automated defenses, and contained suits of power armor, it would have been an easy decision for Brandon to choose to go south to the depot rather than north to the listening post. However, once they arrived, Artemis would have been unable to access the sentry bot and power armor as Ferris was a medic and Aslan was a sharpshooter, so there were no surviving members of Artemis who could have bypassed the security necessary to reach them. If they wanted to get to it, they would need to contact someone who could provide guidance or suggestions for picking the locks or hacking the proper terminals. The decision from here for Brandis to travel to Revere rather than to the listening post is fairly defendable, as from their current position, Revere was much closer to the depot than the listening post. His decision to split his forces by leaving Aslan was a tactical blunder, but understandable given that the depot possessed several automated turrets and the array was quite near. In fact, the array is so close that it's possible that Brandis and Ferris could have heard the turrets firing from the depot as the Ferals moved in, prompting the change of plans that saw Brandis once again split his force for the final time. But how then do we suspect that the earlier patrol to the Commonwealth was to blame for Brandis's decision-making? Is there any evidence at all that there was a Brotherhood of Steel presence at the depot prior to Artemis? Well, as we explore the depot, we can find atop one of the bunkers a pair of roadblock-style defenses, not painted with the pre-war emblems of the US Army, but instead with the colors and iconography of the Brotherhood of Steel. Now, some could argue that Artemis were responsible for the Brotherhood of Steel symbols. However, given the situation that the recon team was facing, this possibility becomes more than a little far-fetched. From the day that Brandis's team was inserted into the Commonwealth to the day he locked himself in his bunker, less than a week had elapsed. We don't know how long the Brotherhood was holed up outside Medtech, but it was apparently long enough that raiders could whittle down their strength and wait for the fusion cores on the team's power armor to run low. After retreating, the team would need to regroup, assess their situation, and establish a plan of action. And once they reached the depot, their first priority would have been to clear the buildings, develop a defensive strategy, followed by getting some rest, as they would have been completely exhausted by this point. There simply wasn't enough time given a 3-person team to devote to tagging the location as a Brotherhood of Steel holding. The only way to reach this rooftop in-game is with the use of power armor equipped with a jetpack, so its difficulty to reach would have likely meant that it was a team effort to get someone up there with a couple cans of paint and a brush. And considering the context of a vulnerable team, low on ammo, surrounded by hostiles, and desperately trying to get back into fighting shape, marking the location as a Brotherhood of Steel stronghold would have simply been an extravagant waste of time, energy, and resources. It would also draw unwanted attention to the location, as they had already been attacked with overwhelming force once already, suggesting the Brotherhood is far from welcome in the Commonwealth. The team would have been far more interested in maintaining a low profile at this point in the mission. A few Brotherhood of Steel tags is precious little evidence, I know, but it does a lot to explain Brandis's actions in the aftermath of their defeat. Without this evidence of a previous Brotherhood of Steel presence, Artemis isn't just a tragically unlucky mission, but is compounded by the blind floundering of an incompetent officer. And while I generally use that term to describe the Brotherhood of Steel under Arthur Maxon in general, these smaller operations tend to be led by very competent field commanders. Choosing to retreat to a recruitment depot, a large facility next to impossible to defend by a squad of 3, low on ammo, vulnerable, and exhausted, choosing to split forces when low numbers require a need for unity, a leader who repeatedly abandoned the soldiers under their command. All of these actions paint Paladin Brandis in a rather unflattering light. However, given his history of distinguished service, Brandis had to have proven an able leader in order to be considered for such an operation, and the evidence of the Brotherhood of Steel at the depot suggests that he was actually acting on the most up-to-date intelligence of the region at the time. His decision to leave Aslan at the depot is difficult to defend, but not impossible given that she was a renowned sharpshooter and that automated defenses like the ballistic turrets at the base are notoriously finicky and only able to engage at shorter ranges, meaning Aslan would have been necessary to provide early warning of any threats to the facility. His decision to leave Ferris at the array is also defendable if we assume that Brandis left due to the sounds of combat at the depot, as field scribes in the Brotherhood of Steel tend to serve as both medical and mobile comms roles. Once they reached the array, it would have been paramount that comms be established with the Brotherhood of Steel headquarters to request extraction, and Ferris as a non-combatant unit would have likely served little if any purpose in helping re-secure the depot. This was likely a calculated decision that would weigh on any military commander in this situation. Do you abort and try again later, or do you gamble that Ferris can get a message back to the Capital Wasteland and that you were able to link up with Aslan before it's too late? Brandis was in an impossible position for a squad leader, and given what we know about the events that transpired, there is no correct options for him to take here. If he had taken Aslan with them to Revere, the depot would have still fallen to ghouls, requiring a fresh clean sweep operation when they returned. Furthermore, when the super mutants arrived at the array, the squad would have been caught in a poorly defensible position, still low on ammunition, and would have proven unable to hold their positions anyway. If they had stayed at the depot, they would have all been caught in the feral swarm, which the three may have been able to repel, but at what cost and with how much ammunition remaining? We can play the what if game all day. What if Artemis arrived a week later than they did? What if Artemis had gone to LP Bravo instead of the training depot? What if they had inserted at Camden like Gladius had? Ultimately, the fate of Recon Squad Artemis was sealed the instant they dropped from their vertibird transports, doomed by poor timing, actionable intelligence, and the cruel, inscrutable machinations of fate. Well, that's about all we have for you this week, but we'd love to hear your thoughts and theories surrounding Artemis's failure, or signs that you found which could point to the mysterious first Brotherhood of Steel squad sent to the Commonwealth in 2280. Until next time, it's been real, stay safe, and we hope to see you here next time on Grey Gaming.